This is Cooper with FedRetirementPlanning.com, and today I'm going to talk about a topic that keeps coming up more and more, and it comes up more and more specifically with younger federal employees, and that is the topic of student loans and how if you are a federal employee, there's an opportunity for student loan forgiveness. First off, just on the topic of student loans are becoming more popular simply because going to college is becoming more popular. People are going to college now more than at any time in history. Kind of if you want a job, at least a good paying job, you have to do some sort of training, whether that's in a specific college or that's a specific trade. So there's a lot of people coming out of college and going into federal service, going into federal jobs. And you know, the recruiters for federal jobs are actually looking to college graduates and are looking to, you know, some of the upperclassmen, some of the people that have done better than their peers in colleges. So student loans is something that I think will continue to happen and will only increase over time. So I think this is important to talk about. But I'm going to talk about specifically 5 truths when it comes to student loan forgiveness from the federal service or from the federal government for your federal service. So the first one is, what exactly is public service student loan forgiveness? This is, you know, a lot of times when I meet with somebody and they're young and just starting out in federal service and they're trying to put together a financial plan, one of the questions they often ask is, I have a lot of student loans. Is there a way to, you know, kind of break this down quicker or get rid of this quicker? And if they haven't heard of this program, this is one of the most exciting things they hear in our meetings, because they realize that they have the opportunity to completely get rid of their student loans. And so the Public Service Student Loan Forgiveness Program essentially is a federal program that completely eliminates student loans for specific borrowers as long as they're federal student loans. So this doesn't necessarily eliminate from, say, you took a loan out from Discover or some other private organization that offers student loans. This is specific to federal student loans. And there's a few, I guess, requirements that you have to meet. The first one is you have to be a full-time employee. So you have to have worked, you have to be full-time in federal service. You can't just be part-time. The second one is you have to have made at least 120 payments in no less than 10 years. Okay, so they don't eliminate it immediately. They wait till you've actually been in service for a while. So if you're thinking, you know, I want to go into federal service so that I can get my student loans paid quickly and get out of there, that's not really going to happen. They kind of wait till, you know, you're kind of vested and you've been there a while. So you have to have been there for 10 years, no less than 10 years, and have made 120 payments. These have to be eligible payments, okay? These aren't necessarily consecutive. They don't have to be, you know, right in a row, but they have to be eligible. So eligible means that they meet the, I guess, the amount requirement, so how much you have to pay, the minimum payment, in order to meet that objective. So there has to be 120 of them. This leads me into my second truth, and that is, what exactly makes up an eligible payment? Because you need to make 120 of them. In reality, any payment made on a loan from the government's direct loan program is an eligible payment. Okay, so that's something to be aware of. 120, they don't have to be consecutive, they just have to be eligible, and every payment is eligible, okay, as long as it's made to the program. Now, you can also consolidate your loans. So if you have a lot of federal loans, and this is something that I help people with, if you have a lot of federal student loans and they're all mismatched and things, you want to consolidate those and put those into one single program. That way, those can be forgiven all at once. So you got to make sure those are consolidated. If they're not consolidated into this program, you're probably not going to be forgiving them after the end of the 10 years. The third truth is, what jobs are actually, I guess, eligible for this program. Now, this isn't just for, I guess, federal employees. This is for public servants in general. This is for people who either work for a non-profit or you know, have public service. So if you're a full-time federal employee, if you're like, you know, many mail carriers that I work with, or you work at the VA, or you work for USDA, if you work for any of those government agencies and you are full-time, you're eligible for this program, and I highly suggest that you take advantage of it so that your student loans get forgiven, especially the people who have really high student loans. I've worked with some pharmacists that have come out of school with quite a bit of student loan debt, and that can be difficult to pay off. But when you look at the long-term horizon and you realize, okay, I only need to make 120 payments, as long as they're eligible to my program, they're going to be forgiven after about 10 years. So that's a big thing to look at, and truly is a great benefit for being a federal employee. The fourth truth is, how do I apply? So how do you actually apply to be a part of this program? It's actually quite simple. Really, you need to contact your student loan provider, so the people that are actually providing that or provided that student loan for you, and also download the PSLF employment certification. Okay, this is a form that you can find online, and you need to, and I'll actually put a link in the bio below for you guys to check out, but you need to do this once a year. Otherwise, you're going to have to be showing pay stubs and things like that to your service provider at the end of each year, and it just becomes more complicated. So I suggest downloading that form and just submitting it once a year. But the first thing you need to do is contact your student loan provider and tell them that you want to be a part of that program, and they'll take you through the steps to get a part of it and start paying down those loans, and then ultimately have them forgiven at the end. The fifth and final truth for student loan forgiveness is, are there other student loan programs available? And yes, there are. There's a lot of student loan forgiveness programs available, especially if you're a federal employee. So depending on what agency you work with, depending on what your performance is, depending on what your job is, depending on what your salary is, depending on what your, how many kids you have, what your race is, what your ethnicity is, all of these factors can come into play and give you the opportunity to have student loan forgiveness, maybe even sooner than this 10-year program. So I'll actually put another link in the bio below, a website called SALT. Actually did a comprehensive list of the programs that are available in an ebook that I liked, and I'll actually give you a link to that to check out. So if this is something that you're contemplating, I highly suggest you do some more research on it. I think it'll be very beneficial to you. But this has been Cooper with FedRetirementPlanning.com. If you haven't subscribed yet, do so here. I think it's going to be beneficial to you, especially if you are a young federal employee. There's a lot of issues that I talk about here that are perfect for building that foundation so that going forward in your federal career, you're better off and you're making smart decisions. But if you have any other questions, this was actually from a question I received from a reader, or a watcher. If you have other questions, feel free to let me know. Email me. My email is in the link in the bio, or leave a comment, and we'll see you next time. Thanks.